So, here's the deal. I never thought I'd be posting something like this, but here I am. I've been dealing with betrayal for a while now, and honestly, I don't know where else to vent. It all started with this stupid poker game that I thought was just a way to hang out with my friends. You know, a night of chips, drinks, and laughs. No big deal. The thing is, Kathy, my wife, was always the life of the party when it came to poker. She loved it, was good at it, and always had fun, even though she wasn't the best at keeping her cool when she lost. It didn't bother me at first. I mean, I'm no poker expert myself, but it was all friendly, right? We'd all meet at Mark's house, our buddy from college, and have these poker nights with a small group of friends. I'd always been comfortable around the guys, hell, I'd known them for years. Kathy was the only woman in the group, and she fit right in. She'd laugh, joke, and do that thing where she'd lean in, pretending to show some kind of special hand to me. I'd play along, mostly to make her laugh. But looking back, maybe I should have seen something off about those moments. Anyway, this one night, things got way out of hand. I didn't even know how it happened, but Kathy lost. Bad. She had been drinking, and when I say drinking, I mean she was pretty much smashed by the time the cards were on the table. I had no clue just how much she'd actually lost until it came time to settle up. The rules of their little poker circle were strict, losers had to pay up, no matter how much they'd lost. That night, she owed Mark a pretty hefty sum, and things got weird. I tried to speak up. I told Kathy we could just leave, that we didn't need to play by their rules. But she wasn't having it. And here's the kicker, Mark wasn't going to let her off easy. According to their rules, she had to pay her debt in some way. At first, I thought they were just joking, like they always did when someone lost too much. But no, this was different. Mark was serious. He laid it out, clear as day. You want to make good on that debt, Kathy? Then I think you know what to do. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I looked at Kathy, and I saw her face flush red, but she didn't refuse. She didn't even protest. She just agreed. I kept waiting for her to tell him to screw off, but it didn't happen. She got up, walked over to him, and the next thing I knew, they were alone in the other room. I was frozen. I couldn't believe my eyes or my ears. My wife, my partner, was going to sleep with another man to settle a stupid poker debt. I mean, how low do you have to be to let that happen? I sat there, stewing in disbelief, but I kept my mouth shut. Maybe I was in shock, maybe I thought I'd misheard, or maybe I just didn't know what to do in that moment. But I knew one thing for sure, I was done. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't just storm in there and stop it right then. Well, that's a whole other mess. I think I was paralyzed, just stuck in that awful moment, trying to process what was happening. The worst part? I kept telling myself maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. Maybe it was just one of those stupid, drunken mistakes. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. Kathy came back into the room not long after. She looked different. Her eyes were glassy, and there was this weird tension in the air. She didn't even meet my gaze. I tried to get her attention, ask her if she was okay, but she just gave me this half-hearted smile and said, "It's fine, Henry. It's over." She was trying to play it cool, but I could tell she was lying. I could see the shame all over her face, even though she didn't say a word about what had just happened. I couldn't take it. I got up and started pacing, but I didn't know what to do or say. It was like I couldn't process it all fast enough. All I could think about was Mark. That smug look he had when he laid out those rules. And Kathy, my wife, just agreeing to it. Just like that. I was fuming inside, but I didn't let it show immediately. I walked over to the door, pretending like I was just going to get some air. The whole group was still at the table, laughing, chatting like nothing was wrong, like they didn't just witness one of the most humiliating moments of my life. But in my head, I was already plotting. I wasn't going to explode right then. I wasn't going to scream or make a scene. No, I was going to let it sit. Let it stew. Kathy had already made her choice. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I went outside, pulled out my phone, and started making plans in my head. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was certain of one thing, it wasn't going to be pretty. When I came back inside, Kathy was talking to some of the guys. She was acting like everything was normal, but I could see it in her eyes. The guilt was eating her up. She could barely look at me, and I could tell she was nervous, like she was waiting for me to say something. I didn't, though. I just sat there, stone-faced, pretending like everything was fine. Let her sweat. In the meantime, I started working on my little act. I slid my wedding ring off and tossed it on the table. I didn't make a big deal about it. I just let it fall with a quiet clink. Kathy noticed right away. Her eyes went wide, and she stopped mid-sentence, glancing between me and the ring. But I didn't say anything. I just let the silence hang there, heavy, like a storm waiting to break. Her face went pale. I could see the panic setting in, but I still didn't speak. I just stood up and walked away to the bathroom, giving her time to process. Maybe she thought I was done, maybe she thought I was walking out for good. But she had no idea what was coming. I knew I wasn't done with her. Not by a long shot. But I was going to make sure she felt the weight of what she had done before I made my move. It didn't take long for Kathy to come looking for me. She found me standing in the hallway, leaning against the wall, just trying to keep my cool. I didn't even look at her when she walked up. I knew she was coming. I could feel the tension in the air, thick like smoke, and I didn't want to face it just yet. I wasn't ready to break. "Henry," she said, her voice shaking. What was that about? What's going on?" I didn't say anything at first. I just kept my eyes fixed on the floor, staring at the crack between the tiles. I could feel her standing there, watching me, waiting for me to give her an answer, but I wasn't going to let her off easy. Not after what she had just done. I finally looked up, but I didn't look her in the eyes. I wasn't ready for that yet. Instead, I let the silence hang for a while, letting her squirm. It felt like an eternity before I spoke. "I think you know exactly what's going on, Kathy," I said, my voice steady, maybe a little too calm. It sounded like it was coming from someone else, not me. I almost didn't recognize myself in that moment. She started to stammer, her usual confidence completely gone. "Henry, I swear, I didn't mean for it to happen like that. It was a stupid game, and..." I cut her off, my voice sharp now. "A stupid game? Is that what you think this is? A game? You let Mark take advantage of you over a stupid game?" I could feel the anger rising in me again, but I kept it together, kept it controlled. I needed her to feel the full weight of what she had done. She looked like she was about to cry, her eyes welling up. "It wasn't like that, okay? I didn't have a choice, Henry. It was just a mistake. A huge mistake, but I didn't want it to happen. I didn't." I could barely listen to her anymore. "A mistake? Kathy, you chose this. You chose to do that. You didn't fight back. You didn't stand up for us. You let it happen." Her face twisted with guilt, and she finally spoke up, more desperately now. "I didn't know what else to do. The pressure from everyone, from Mark. I didn't want to lose you, Henry. I didn't want to lose everything." I shook my head slowly, letting the words sink in, even though they didn't make sense to me. "So you thought betraying me, betraying everything we had, was the way to fix it? That makes no sense, Kathy." At that point, I felt like I was drowning in her words. Nothing she said was helping. I just kept hearing her voice in my head. "I didn't want to lose you, Henry," but the truth was, she had already lost me. I couldn't just forget this. I couldn't just forgive her and pretend like everything was fine. Kathy looked like she was about to collapse, her shoulders shaking as she tried to hold it together. "I'm sorry," she whispered, but the words felt empty. "I never meant to hurt you. Please, Henry, please." And then, out of nowhere, it hit me. I didn't want her apologies. I didn't want any more of her lies. I didn't want her empty promises or her broken pleas. In that moment, I realized I was done being the nice guy. I was done holding it together for her. I took a deep breath, slowly walked past her, and out the door, all the while hearing her call my name, but I didn't look back. She was already gone in my heart. The damage was done. But as I stepped out of the house, I saw Mark standing in the yard, trying to act casual with a beer in his hand like nothing had happened. That was the breaking point for me. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I stormed toward him, not caring about anything anymore. I didn't think, I didn't hesitate. I just acted. And before I knew it, I had my fist in his face. I didn't think, I just acted. Mark stood there, smug as hell, like nothing had happened. I was so angry I couldn't breathe. All I wanted in that moment was for him to feel what I felt. My fist hit his jaw hard, and I felt a rush of satisfaction. His head snapped back, eyes wide in shock. He stumbled, looking stunned. Before I could go in again, hands grabbed me. I didn't know who they were at first, but they were holding me back. I struggled, trying to break free, but the grip was too strong. I could see Mark wiping blood from his lip, and for a second, I felt like I'd gotten my revenge. Then the words came, Mark shouting, "It's just a game." She agreed to it. Those words hit me harder than the punch. It was like everything clicked into place, and I realized there was no going back from this. I couldn't stay there any longer. The guys were still holding me, trying to calm me down, but I couldn't hear them. I couldn't stay in that house, in that moment, with everything crashing down around me. I stepped back, looked at Mark one last time, and walked out without saying a word. The others kept shouting, but I didn't care. I just needed to get away. The only sound I could hear now was my own footsteps as I walked into the night. I don't remember exactly where I went after I left Mark's place. My mind was a blur of rage and disbelief. I just needed to walk, to get as far away from everything as possible. I didn't care where I ended up, as long as it wasn't with her, with them. Eventually, I found myself sitting at a diner down the street from the house. I don't even remember ordering anything. I just sat there, staring at the mug in front of me, trying to make sense of what had just happened. My hands were shaking, but I didn't know if it was from the anger or the sheer disbelief of it all. Kathy had called me multiple times, but I ignored every one of her calls. I wasn't ready to talk to her. I wasn't ready to hear her excuses or her apologies. Not yet. Not when everything still felt so fresh, so raw. I sat there for what felt like hours, just thinking about the night. About Mark, about Kathy, about how everything had fallen apart so quickly. I kept replaying her face in my head, the look of guilt, of fear, of relief. She thought I was going to walk away, that the ring meant I was done. But what she didn't know was that I hadn't walked out because I was done with her. I walked out because I couldn't handle the shame. The betrayal. Eventually, I got up and left the diner, still not ready to go home. As I stepped out into the night, I knew one thing for sure. Things between Kathy and I would never be the same. No matter what she said, no matter how much she begged, I couldn't just forget what had happened. I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. And as I walked back to my car, I felt the weight of that truth settle in. My life, our life, had changed in one stupid, unforgivable moment. I finally made it home later that night, but the place didn't feel like home anymore. It was cold, empty, and suffocating. I couldn't even bring myself to go inside. I stood by the door for a while, hands in my pockets, staring at the porch light. Everything in me just wanted to walk away. Walk far, far away from Kathy, from this life I thought I had. But then my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Kathy. "I'm sorry, Henry. I never wanted to hurt you. Please, can we talk? I'll do anything. Just, come home. Please." My heart sank when I saw it. I didn't want to read it. I didn't want to hear any more apologies. But I opened it anyway. The words felt hollow. Empty. I didn't believe her anymore. How could I? How could I trust anything she said after what she'd done? I just stood there, staring at her message, unable to respond. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't know what she wanted from me anymore. Did she want me to forgive her? Did she expect me to just move on like nothing had happened? Or did she want me to yell, to scream, to make it all go away? I was so tired of the games. So tired of the lies. I didn't reply. I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I tossed my phone on the front seat of my car, locked the door, and just drove off. I didn't know where I was going or how long I'd be gone. All I knew was that I needed to get away from everything, her, Mark, the house, the life we built. I just couldn't be there. I drove aimlessly for what felt like hours, until the road blurred and the weight on my chest started to ease up. But the truth was, it wasn't getting better. I was just pushing it down, burying it like I always did. And I knew deep down, I'd have to face her sooner or later. But I wasn't ready. Not yet. The next morning, I woke up in a motel, the sterile, flickering light of the lamp making everything feel unreal. I hadn't planned on staying away. I just didn't know what else to do. I had my phone off all night, not wanting to deal with anything, anyone. But when I turned it back on, there was another text from Kathy. And this time, it wasn't just a sorry note. "I can't breathe without you. Please, I need you to come back. We can fix this. I can fix this." It was the kind of message you send when you're desperate. And I knew exactly what that desperation was. I'd seen it before, in other situations. It was the kind of thing you send when you don't want to face the reality of what you've done. But I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't ready to face her, or Mark, or the mess I was in. Then, a few minutes later, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. It was her. My stomach tightened. I let it ring. Then again. I stared at it, listening to the vibrations that almost seemed like a countdown, like a warning. But finally, I answered. I didn't say anything at first. I just let the silence hang. I didn't know what to say to her. "H. Henry?" Her voice was shaky, quiet, almost like she was afraid I'd hang up at any second. "Please, talk to me. I need you. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. It was just the game and the pressure and everything. I was drunk, I wasn't thinking straight. I swear, I thought I could get out of it. But I didn't, and I don't know what to do now." I closed my eyes for a second, trying to shut out her words. She was still trying to explain. She was still trying to make it sound like it was something out of her control, like it was all just a mistake. "You don't get it, Kathy," I said quietly. My voice didn't sound like my own. It was cold. Detached. "You don't get how deep this goes. You let it happen. You didn't stop it. I can't just forget that." I know," she cried, her voice breaking. "I messed up. But Henry, please, I love you. I need you. Please just come home. Let's talk. Let me fix this. I can fix it." It was like a punch to the gut. I could hear her desperation, feel the weight of her words, but I didn't know if I could believe them anymore. I didn't know if I even wanted to. I don't know if I can come back from this, I said, my words coming out slower, more deliberate now. I don't know if I can trust you again. I don't know if I can even look at you the same way after what happened. There was a long silence on the other end. I could hear her trying to breathe through her tears. I'll do whatever it takes, she whispered. I'll fix it, Henry. Please. I didn't answer right away. I just sat there, my mind spinning. I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to be this guy, the one who couldn't forgive. But I didn't know how to move forward. I didn't know how to forget what she'd done. And in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't ready for any of it. I wasn't ready to forgive her, or to fix anything. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Don't call me again, I said, my voice firm. I need time. We both need time. I can't do this right now. And with that, I hung up. After that call, I didn't hear from Kathy for days. The silence was deafening, and honestly, it was almost worse than the constant barrage of texts and calls. It was like she had given up, and that scared me more than anything. I didn't know if it was because she finally realized the magnitude of what she had done, or if she was just giving me space to process everything. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted permanently. I stayed away. I didn't go back to the house. I stayed at the motel for a while, and then I went to a buddy's place, trying to avoid thinking about Kathy, about Mark, about all of it. It was easy to run, to pretend I could just leave it behind. But the truth was, I couldn't. I'd lay awake at night, replaying every moment of that damn poker game. The way Kathy had looked at me when she came back, how she hadn't even tried to argue when I called her out. I kept asking myself if I was being unreasonable. Was I overreacting? But deep down, I knew I wasn't. I wasn't going to let her off the hook, not for this. It was a couple of days later when I got another text from her. It wasn't a long message, just one line. I miss you. Please, let's talk. I didn't respond. I couldn't. What was there to say? I kept thinking about that night, about the way Kathy had so easily given in to the pressure. It was like she didn't even fight for us, for our marriage. She had let it all slip away in one stupid, reckless moment. The days dragged on, and I was stuck in limbo, neither moving forward nor going back. I wasn't ready to forgive her, but I also couldn't just pretend it didn't hurt like hell. I didn't want to be the guy who let a betrayal like that slide, but at the same time, I didn't know if I could live with the anger eating me alive. Eventually, Kathy called again, and this time, I couldn't avoid it. I picked up the phone, but I didn't say anything right away. There was a long pause before she spoke. Henry, please. I know I messed up. But I love you. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Her voice was shaky, like she was barely holding it together, and part of me wanted to just go to her, to wrap my arms around her and pretend like everything was okay again. But another part of me was still so angry, so betrayed, that I couldn't even look at her the same way. I don't know if I can do this anymore, I said quietly. I need space. I need time to think. There was a long pause on the other end. I could hear her breathing, and I hated the way it felt like everything was breaking down. But I didn't know what else to say. I didn't know what to do with myself, let alone what to do with her. I understand, she said, barely above a whisper. I'm so sorry, Henry. I hung up without another word, and the silence filled the space between us once again. It wasn't the closure I was looking for, but it was all I could give. And as I sat there, the weight of everything pressing down on me, I realized something. I wasn't sure if I was ever going to be able to forgive her. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to. A week passed in silence. I stayed away, trying to drown out everything by keeping busy, but the thoughts kept circling. The betrayal, the guilt, the anger, everything felt stuck. I couldn't stop thinking about that night, about Kathy and Mark, and how she never even tried to stop it. I was furious, but more than that, I was numb. But I knew I had to face this. I couldn't keep running. So, I drove back home. When I stepped inside, it felt like a stranger's house. Kathy was sitting on the couch, looking like she'd been waiting forever. There was no surprise in her eyes when she saw me. Just a quiet kind of hope. But nothing more. We stared at each other for a minute before I finally spoke. How long were you planning to wait here until I came back? Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. She just looked at me with regret. I couldn't leave, Henry. I'm here. I'll keep fighting for us, if you'll let me. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to walk out, to end it. But another part still wanted to believe. I sat across from her, my voice cold. What do you want, Kathy? Do you want me to forgive you? Do you want things to go back to how they were? She shook her head, her eyes desperate. I just want to fix what I broke. I can't undo it, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right. I leaned back, trying to think straight. You've already broken it. What's left to fix? I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way. Her face crumpled, and she reached out to me. But I pulled away. I don't know if I can stay. I don't know if we can stay. The silence hung in the air, thick and suffocating. We both knew everything had changed. Neither of us knew where to go from here, but we couldn't unfeel what had happened. Days went by, and we barely spoke. Kathy tried, oh, how she tried, but every time she reached out, every apology, every promise to fix things, it just felt hollow. The more she begged, the more I pulled away. I couldn't help it. It was like I was drowning in everything that had happened, and no matter how much she cried or pleaded, I couldn't find the way back. I kept thinking about that night. The look in her eyes when she walked back into the room after it happened, how she had agreed to it. I kept wondering if she even cared about me, or if I was just a fallback when things went wrong. One evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to do something. I couldn't keep living like this, stuck between anger and betrayal. So, I told Kathy we needed to talk. We sat down in the kitchen, the same place we'd shared countless meals, countless conversations. But tonight, it felt like a battlefield. Kathy, I started, trying to find the right words, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending like nothing's wrong. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. And that hurts more than I can say. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't interrupt. She just nodded, her hands trembling in her lap. I love you, Henry, she whispered, I swear, I never wanted to hurt you. I messed up. I don't know how to fix it, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying. Please, please let me fix this. I looked at her, and for the first time in days, I didn't feel anger. I just felt empty. Like there was nothing left to fight for. I don't think I can forgive you, I said, the words stinging as they left my mouth. And I don't know if I want to anymore. It felt like the world shifted in that moment. Everything changed. I stood up, feeling like a part of me was leaving too. I think it's time we end this, Kathy. She didn't say anything. She just sat there, crying silently, knowing as well as I did that we were done. The love I thought we had, the life we built, it was gone. The moment I walked out the door, something inside me snapped. It wasn't relief, like I thought it would be. It wasn't a weight lifting off my shoulders. It was the raw, empty feeling of realizing that I had just walked away from everything. Everything we had built. Everything I thought I knew about love and trust. I didn't know where I was going, but I kept driving. I didn't want to go back to the house. I couldn't. I had left Kathy behind, but it felt like I was leaving myself behind too. I stopped at a bar, needing to numb the feeling, the guilt, the ache of betrayal. I told myself it was the right thing to do. After everything that had happened, how could I stay? But still, in the back of my mind, I kept wondering if I had made the wrong choice. Was there something I could have done differently? Should I have tried harder to work through this? As I sat there, nursing a drink, I pulled out my phone. I thought about texting Kathy, asking her to meet me, asking if we could talk things through one more time. But I couldn't. I couldn't keep going in circles with her. She had made her choice, and so had I. The longer I sat there, the clearer it became. There was no going back from this. No fixing what had been broken. We were both too far gone. I sent her a message. It's over, Kathy. I hope you find what you need. I can't do this anymore. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. And for the first time in days, I felt something other than pain. It wasn't peace, but it was something. Something that felt like the start of a new chapter, even if it wasn't the one I had ever planned on. The phone buzzed with her reply almost immediately, but I didn't look at it. I knew what it would say, more apologies, more promises. And I didn't need to hear any of it. I finished my drink, paid the tab, and walked out into the night. The streets were quiet, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel like I was suffocating. The world was still spinning. I wasn't broken. I was just moving forward. Even if I didn't know where the hell I was going, the days after that text were strange. I was floating in some kind of numb haze, trying to adjust to this new version of my life. I didn't have to face Kathy anymore, didn't have to wonder what she was thinking, or how to fix what was broken. But even though I had made the decision, it didn't make it any easier. I threw myself into work, into the distractions that kept me from thinking about the hole in my chest. But every now and then, I'd catch myself zoning out, memories of Kathy and our life together rushing back. I'd think about the good times, the laughs, the small moments of connection, and it hurt. It hurt to remember how good things used to be, how easily they had all unraveled. I spent a lot of nights out with friends, trying to keep myself busy. The guys noticed I wasn't myself, but they didn't press. I think they understood. I wasn't looking for pity. I wasn't looking for answers. I just needed to be somewhere else, away from the thoughts of Kathy, of betrayal, of everything that had gone wrong. One night, as I was driving home, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Kathy, again. I stared at it for a second, then put my phone back down without opening it. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep playing this game of hoping she'd say something that would make everything okay. I'd already made my decision. I deleted her number. Blocked her on everything. It was the only way I could start to move forward. To stop looking back. It wasn't a perfect fix, but it was something. It was the first step. And slowly, day by day, the numbness began to fade. I started to feel like myself again. It wasn't easy. I had moments where I missed her, where the weight of the betrayal felt unbearable, but I kept moving forward. One foot in front of the other. I didn't have all the answers, and I didn't know what came next. But I knew I was better off without the constant reminder of the pain she had caused. I wasn't going to let her, or what happened, define me anymore. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally starting to breathe again. Weeks passed, and I started to find a rhythm again. I wasn't entirely whole, but I wasn't completely broken either. The weight of everything that had happened wasn't gone, but it wasn't crushing me anymore. I was learning how to live with it. How to move on. One evening, I decided to take a walk in the park. It was one of those crisp, quiet nights, where the world seemed to slow down. I needed the space to think, to just be. No distractions, no noise. As I walked, I realized something. I had been holding on to that pain, that betrayal, for so long that it had become a part of me. But it wasn't me. I wasn't that guy who let someone else's actions dictate who I was. I wasn't the guy who let a past mistake define the future. I was more than that. More than the man who'd been hurt. More than the guy who was left behind. I didn't know what was ahead of me, but I was starting to realize that maybe it was time to look forward, not back. To stop holding on to something that wasn't mine to fix anymore. The next morning, I went through my stuff and found the photos we had together, the ones from trips, the pictures of us laughing, smiling. I sat there for a while, just staring at them, but for the first time, I didn't feel anger or sadness. I felt okay. I felt like it was finally time to let go. So, I put them all in a box, took them outside, and tossed them in the trash. It felt good, not because I was erasing memories, but because I was letting them go. I wasn't forgetting. I was healing. That afternoon, I called up an old friend. It had been a while since we'd caught up, but I needed that connection. We went for coffee, talked about everything and nothing, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like myself again. Not the guy who'd been betrayed. Not the guy who was broken. Just Henry. The truth was, I didn't need Kathy to define me. I didn't need the past to hold me hostage. I was ready to start again. It wasn't easy, and I knew there would be tough days ahead, but I was ready. And as I sat there with my friend, talking about life, laughing again, I realized something important. I was going to be okay. Maybe even better than okay. I wasn't defined by what happened to me. I was defined by what I did with it. And I was choosing to move forward. Time kept moving forward, and so did I. Slowly but surely, I started building a life that felt mine again. I didn't need to erase the past to move on, I just needed to understand that it didn't own me. I found myself reconnecting with things I had pushed aside while I was in that relationship. I threw myself into hobbies, old friends, and things that made me feel alive again. Work became a good distraction too. I dove into projects with a new sense of purpose. I wasn't just going through the motions anymore. I was choosing to show up. I was choosing to move forward with intention, with focus. I started taking care of myself again, mentally, physically, and emotionally. It felt good. I started seeing a therapist, not because I thought I was broken, but because I needed to talk through everything, to understand it all. I didn't want to carry around resentment, or let bitterness cloud my future. Talking things out was helping, and it was freeing in a way I hadn't expected. I also started dating again, casually at first. Nothing serious. But it felt different now. I wasn't comparing every woman I met to Kathy. I wasn't holding anyone else accountable for her mistakes. I learned to appreciate the small things in relationships again, the connection, the laughter, the ability to just be with someone without all the baggage. One evening, I ran into an old friend from high school while out at a bar. She'd heard about what had happened and wanted to check in. We got to talking, and there was a comfort in it. A familiarity. It didn't feel like a rebound or anything rushed. It felt easy, and for the first time in a long time, I realized how much I had been craving that kind of ease in my life. We exchanged numbers, and a few weeks later, we went on a real date. It wasn't about filling a void. It was about enjoying life again, and rediscovering that I wasn't doomed by the past. I had a future ahead of me, one where I could grow, love, and experience new things, without the weight of what had happened to me holding me back. One night, after a particularly good date, I sat on my couch and thought about how far I'd come. It wasn't perfect, and I still had moments where I felt the sting of the past, but I wasn't letting it control me anymore. I wasn't stuck. I wasn't holding on to something that wasn't mine to fix. It was a new chapter. And as much as it had been painful to get here, I knew it was where I was meant to be. I was stronger than I'd ever realized. I was learning to trust again, not just others, but myself. And that was enough for now. A few months passed, and life started feeling more like mine again. The memories of Kathy and the betrayal didn't sting as much. The anger, the confusion, it faded into something more manageable. I wasn't living in the past anymore, I was learning to enjoy the present. One afternoon, I found myself walking past a park, and I heard someone calling my name. I turned to see Kathy standing there, looking as fragile as I remembered. She was standing by a bench, her eyes tired, but there was a sense of finality to the way she looked at me. I had a moment of hesitation. I could have walked away, kept moving, but something in me paused. "Henry," she said quietly, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. "I wasn't sure if you'd even want to see me again." I took a breath, looking at her, taking in the change. She didn't look like the woman who betrayed me anymore. She looked like someone who had been broken too, but in different ways. "I don't know what to say to you, Kathy," I finally replied, the words coming out slow but steady. "I've moved on. I've let go of all that anger and hurt, but it doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change you." She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed to say I'm sorry. For everything. For what I put you through. For everything I broke. I don't think I'll ever be able to fix it, but I needed you to know." I stood there for a while, letting the weight of her words sink in. I'd spent so long carrying the hurt, the resentment, the anger. But in that moment, I realized something. It wasn't about forgiving her. It wasn't about trying to fix something that couldn't be fixed. It was about letting go. Letting go of the pain, of the past, and accepting that sometimes things break and don't come back together the way you want them to. "I don't hate you," I finally said. "I think I did for a long time, but I don't anymore. I just don't think I can be part of your life anymore. Not like that. I can't go back to who I was when we were together." Kathy looked at me, the weight of my words sinking in. "I understand," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I just wanted you to know. I truly am sorry. For everything." I nodded, giving her one last look. "Take care of yourself, Kathy. That's all I can really say." I turned to walk away, but I didn't feel that same weight anymore. I wasn't leaving her behind. I wasn't leaving the past behind. I was just moving forward. And for the first time, it felt like the last piece had finally fallen into place. I had let go. Not for her. Not because of her. But for me. And that was enough. It wasn't the happy ending I'd once imagined, but it was mine. And it was a new beginning.
Bye.